I don't care about what's behind me. I want to know what's in front of me. And if you want to be an astronaut, well, that's way out in the distance. But what do I do right where my feet are right now?
Yeah.
I have to take little, what about Bob? I've just got to take little bitty steps to get to the next goalpost.
As I was starting to go through the process of healing, I would ask him, like, please let me know if you observe behaviors that are concerning, indicating either ramping up into hypomania or, crashing into depression. Yeah. And I had to figure out a way to listen to him and not, bite his head off. Because the first time I bit his head off, he's like, not doing that again. That's a trap.
Yep.
But how do you teach them? I assume that, obviously through experience, they're when they're with you, but what do you do as far as helping them to identify sources of stability for themselves, to tie themselves to kind of I don't mean tie, but like anchor yourself to sources of stability?
Yeah. So the phrase is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Like, I don't know if that relates to anybody, but when we do skills, so I'm a terrible golfer. I couldn't tell you what's wrong with my swing, right? So if I were ever to take lessons, somebody would go, hey, your hand positioning's wrong. Hey, your feet are wrong. Hey, the way you take the club back is wrong. And those are sort of micro skills all to the swing. And so coping skills, right? We have a whole entire curriculum on helping our kids identify a symptom and then how to cope with that, right? Yeah. If you feel fatigue, like what is your first thing to do to cope with that? Is it coffee? Is it cocaine? Is it, how are you coping with that? Well, what about breathing? Can we do a box breathing that helps oxygenate the brain and acts as a stimulant and then brings you down, right? So those are basic mechanics, biomechanic type things that we can do. Learning how to communicate. And so having a basic skill set of using I statements and I feel and those types of communication really help de-escalate the spinning up of mania or fight or flight mode. Having anger management and doing the prep work, having them, okay, we ask the question, where's my anger come from? Well, I'm not angry. Okay. You're cutting yourself. So that looks like anger turned inward, or you're fighting someone that looks like anger. So helping them understand what does anger look like and putting all of those kind of life skills and awareness into into the bank, into the reservoir. That way, when you stand in front of the situation, you can go to that bank because it's full. I now have a tool I can go get and go, okay, I just got an F on this test. I feel like a failure. I want to go use drugs, but what can I do? I can breathe. And then maybe I can go to my value of transparency, and I can go to my teacher and I can say, hey, look, like, or my mom or my friend, and be like, I just feel like a total piece of crap right now. I don't understand this. Am I an F or did I just get an F?
Yeah.
And so having those tools bring to life or support the work you've done in the clinical interventions and helps live out those values on a daily basis. Because if I don't have skills, how can I really uphold the value, right? Yeah. I want to be excellent. That's our value of excellent. But if I don't know any way, I'm going to keep hitting balls out into the field, not into the fairway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also one of the things that I just started thinking about was a lot of times when you develop unhealthy coping mechanisms based on some kind of trauma or something that you've struggled with, and your brain has developed this coping mechanism to deal with it, when you try to unwind what was unhealthy and the things that were issues in the first place, that shifts your entire paradigm, and then it can cause a feeling of instability. Because I felt like, okay, if it's not supposed to be this way, how is it supposed to be? Like, I didn't know what I was, what it should be, because I have just recognized what I thought was reality, or what I thought the way that the world should work was not healthy. So now I don't know what to do anymore. And it can make you feel kind of untethered. And so having this framework to do this work within is so beneficial, because you don't end up with this untethered feeling. You don't feel like this, like, I don't know what's up. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know how to do it. If this is wrong, what am I supposed to do instead? One of the things that you talked about when we were talking before was, you said the core values and then clinical intervention, then skills. Is that the right form? And so within the clinical intervention, are there standard skills that you work with, or is it personalized based on whatever their needs are? How does that work? How do you identify like what skills need to be addressed?
Yes. So the clinical interventions follow sort of a scope and sequence. And when we look at narrative therapy, we want to look at family systems. We want to figure out, like, who are the core supports? Who's the antagonist? Like, who is this a 5-generation thing? And what, looking back, can we figure out, okay, that didn't work for grandpa, that didn't work for great grandpa, and it certainly didn't work for dad. Well, what's going to work for me? What am I going to be able to do different in this family system? And so, we kind of work them through different modules to, really expose them to the best practiced clinical interventions. We space it out on a week, and, at the end of the beginning of the week, they're learning it. And at the end of the week, they're doing it, they're implementing, and they kind of have like a show and tell, with whatever thing they're doing. So we do, like a whole week we call Legacy Week, and we really want to look at what's forward. And so we're using solution focused therapy. And so that's really about, like, I don't care about what's behind me. I want to know what's in front of me. And if you want to be an astronaut, well, that's way out in the distance, but what do I do right where my feet are right now? I have to take little, what about Bob? I've just got to take little bitty steps to get to the next goalpost. So we just kind of build all those together. And so by the end of our 12 weeks, they've got a Rolodex of tried and true clinical interventions that they can go back to, because sometimes CBT is not really good, right? Or maybe family systems doesn't apply the way, but then narrative therapy is the thing that unlocks them, and that's their lens by which they do treatment throughout it. So try to really, really expose them to the gamut, knowing that each kid is different. And then the individual work will happen in the individual session with individual treatment plans and things like that. But our community and our group work is based on those clinical themes.